Welcome to the Attack the Paint show. My name is Ravneet Singh, and let's get into it. I want to go over the conference play tournament games, some of the top NBA draft prospects, and how they did in those conference tournament games. And we'll get into AJ and Darren, and we're going to save that for later. But I want to start off with Cameron Boozer in that Virginia game. And a lot of the stuff that I was concerned about with Boozer showed up in that game. In my opinion, that was his worst game of the season. And still, he had a decent game for, I would say, any other player, but for himself, it was not a very good game. For one, I think his lack of quickness showed up, and also his lack of height and length. And he got blocked a lot in that game. And Ugona Oyenesu, I don't know if I'm saying that right, he had 9 blocks in that game against Duke. And I know Duke was hurt, their center was out. But again, I think it was his worst game of the year. That being said, they still gave him the ball at the end of the game, and this seems like Duke's strategy at the end of close games is let's just give the ball to Cameron Boozer and let him operate as the main primary ball handler, and let's see what the defense can do to stop him. And I think he was at his best when he was doing that in that game. So there's this play that Duke runs where they have Isaiah Evans come set a screen, and he's not really setting a full screen if I remember correctly. He just sets a screen, flares out for three, and then he made one of the threes. Duke ran this play earlier in the season at a critical point in the game, and Evans had made a three to seal that game. And in this game, they ran that play twice. The second time, he barely missed it. And Oyenesu, for almost, he was supposed to switch, but he did not switch. And that almost led to the second three, but Duke missed it. But still, Duke came up on top, partly because I want to say it was the next player, the play after that. Duke, again, had Boozer as the primary ball handler. He got the switch this time. This time Virginia did switch, and he had a smaller guy on him. He got the foul. He made both free throws, I want to say. So, yeah, this is the thing with Boozer where he is a mismatch nightmare, especially in college basketball when he becomes the primary ball handler. It's going to be interesting to see how much an NBA team is going to be able to give him the ball in that type of scenario. So I don't know. It just depends. I mean, they could give, if an NBA team wants to, I would try to experiment with that as much as possible because he does have a decent handle as a size. I still think he needs to improve it. I feel like I'm talking a lot about Boozer, but he's such a fascinating player. And that's partly why I made my Attack the Paint video on him, as my first scouting video on him for the year. So, yeah, so that's pretty much on Boozer. I want to go next to Kingston Flemings. I am really impressed with Kingston. He is a very composed player, and I kind of compare him to the S&P 500 when comparing him to the other two top point guards in this year's draft, Mikael Brown and Darius Acuff. He just seems so steady. And again, you can make an argument for any one of these guys as the top prospect in this year's draft class at the point guard position. Kingston just seems like the safest right now, and he just seems steady and boring like the S&P 500, but you know what you're going to get out of him. You're going to get reliable defense, and you're going to get a jump shot that is extremely consistent. I do worry about how he does when he attacks the paint. and in transition, finishing at the basket. There were a couple layups that he missed in this year's tournament that I was like, oh, you got to make that. Um, and also one other thing about him is his dribble is a little bit too high sometimes. So I would like to see him keep that ball a little bit lower when he's driving to the basket. Um, but overall, I mean, he is very composed. There was this play I remember. Um, I'm forgetting what team they played against, but it was they were running a stagger screen. Yeah, there was this play where they're running a stagger screen on the weak side, and he doesn't wait for his guy to come off the stagger screen, and he just goes straight to the basket, had a monster dunk, and it was one of his best plays of the whole year. And that play is probably set up for him where he could wait to see if he has an advantage and he could go straight to the basket, or he could wait to see if his man wants to come off the stagger. So he probably had the option there. But yeah, that was, I really liked that play. And yeah, I mean, this point guard draft class is crazy. It's just, the way I see it is after watching one of these guys play, I'm like convinced, oh, this guy has to be the best point guard in the draft class. And then you watch the next one and you're like, well, no, well, maybe it should be Mikel Brown, or then maybe it should be Darius Acuff after you watch him. And we're going to get into Darius Acuff. Um, yeah, we're going to get into Darius Acuff because he had one hell of a conference tournament. Let me see if there's anything else I want to talk about Fleming's. Oh yeah, he had this one dive for the loose ball, and it was in a critical point in the game. I want to say against BYU. So yeah, that was a really good game, the BYU Houston game. Um, I mean, Houston dominated, but it was good for NBA draft fans to see AJ versus Fleming's. Um, was it a blowout? I don't think it was actually that. Sorry, I'm getting confused. Yeah, it was not that. It was close, and yeah, I'll talk about that game in a little bit when we get to AJ. Okay, Darius Acuff. He looks great. I mean, he's playing with so much confidence. I didn't realize that he's been in a boot in a lot of the season, in between games, and he's missing practices because he's going through an ankle injury. That's insane. He is not playing like he's going through an injury right now. Um, Today they won their first SEC championship in 26 years, and he had 30 points, 11 assists. Just crazy. I mean, he had 37 points against Oklahoma in the tournament, 5 for 9 from three. And it wasn't that long ago where he had that 49-point game in double OT against Alabama. So this guy, when he gets on a heater, it is tough to stop him, especially from three. People are concerned about his height, and the other heights of the Mikel Brown and Fleming. So yeah, when people talk about I had this debate with a friend of mine, and he was saying, no point guard under 6'3", or it might have been 6'2", has done that well since the last 6 years of the NBA draft. And it is scary to think about that. But what I said to him was, sometimes it's a great quarterback class. Like in 2024, you have, Caleb, you have Bo Nix, you have, Michael Penix is okay, but who am I? I'm blanking on the names now. It's Drake May and McDaniels. Sometimes you have a great quarterback class, and other times you don't. Like this year, it's just Fernando Mendoza. So it's not going to be, it is the toughest position to play in football. And in the NBA, I do think it is a very tough position as well. And so I do think it is harder to find skilled point guards. Similarly, how it's difficult to find quarterbacks. I'm not equating it like the same difficulty level. I'm just saying sometimes you have classes that are deeper in certain positions. And this year, this point guard draft class is extremely deep and extremely talented at the top. I don't want to you just watch these guys and you feel like, yeah, these guys are NBA players. I'm not going to hold it against them because the other draft classes were not as deep. I do think there's been a focus on height, and that's rightfully so because, like I talked about in my last video, teams will hunt the smallest guy or the slowest guy on defense in the playoffs, and that's totally reasonable, and I think that is a fair concern. I don't think Flemings and Acuff can be hunted that much. I haven't really fully gone into the defensive side of the tape for Mikael Brown, so I will hold judgment on that. But yeah, I needed to say that because I disagree. I think all these three guys are NBA players, and I'm not worried that they're a little bit shorter. I know Flemings is, I think, listed as 6'4". I'm not sure about that. We'll see how the measurements come out at the combine. But yeah, I mean, Acuff's wingspan also looks really good. So I care a lot more about the wingspan also. Donovan Mitchell is an example where he's listed, I think, at 6'2" and with a 7-foot wingspan. So the eye test tells me that these guys are NBA players and that the NBA should watch out for these guys eventually. Okay. I went on a little bit of a ramble there on that, but I think that's pretty much all I had on Darius Acuff. Now, Darren Peterson, not the best conference tournament. He played against Houston, which AJ Dybantsa also played against Houston in the Big 12 tournament, and AJ had a better game. And we'll get to why. But first, I want to just go over Peterson and why he struggled. For one, he had very little room to operate. Two, he doesn't look healthy. And three, Kansas doesn't run their offense through Peterson like BYU runs their offense through AJ. And I think that's a very important distinction to make because when comparing the two players. We want to look at the stat line and we want to look at, how many points did AJ have, how many points did Darren have, and who had the better game. And it's no question that AJ had the better game. The question is why, and those are some reasons why. Now, if he was fully healthy and if he was playing the full 40 minutes like AJ is, and if Kansas was making it a focal point to give Darren the ball in the half court as much as possible, then yeah, we're going to compare apples to apples, and I think it's fair to kind of compare the two stat lines. But that's not what's happening. What's happening is that Kansas has learned to operate without Darren, with all his injuries, or one injury. And so, they're not relying on him, and so I don't think he's at his full health either. So I think let's calm it down a little bit when it comes to this tournament being the reason why AJ is going to go number one. If you think that this tournament is the reason that you're going to pick AJ over Darren, then that's fine. That's your opinion. You're entitled to that. I'm not going to say that right now. I have been on the Darren bandwagon for going number one the entire year, and I do have some doubt about it now. I'm not going to lie and say that this tournament did not impact my decision, but I think we need to put it in context. That's all I'm saying. We just need to put it in context and see why Darren didn't do as well. And the other thing is, Houston plays a little bit of a gimmicky defense that I don't think these guys are going to see at the NBA level for a few years. And that is they just throw like immediate quick doubles when the guys touch the ball. So immediately when Darren touches the ball or AJ touches the ball, Houston comes and doubles like extremely quickly. And the college spacing is a lot tighter than the NBA's. So again, just some points I want to keep in mind because I think it's easy to just say, it's easy just to see the stat line and say, okay, well, yeah, I'm going to go with AJ as the best player and going number one. Let me see. I think that's pretty much what I had to say about Darren. Um, yeah, I just don't think he's at his full strength. I just seeing his high school tape, he just looked a lot more explosive than he does now. AJ, that is nothing to take away from AJ Dybantsa because he was spectacular this entire tournament. He had a 40-point game. I think it was the most points by a freshman in the tournament since Kevin Durant. So he is in some really good company. They are giving him the ball on 80 to 90% of the half court plays. He is the focal point. They will clear the entire side of the court for him to operate on the other side. So he could just go one on one. And then he'll go to his turnaround jumper. And there's nothing the defense can do about that. Houston succeeded because they doubled him immediately. And they doubled him whenever they could. And even Houston almost lost that game. The refs were terrible in that game. He had 4 no calls. AJ got fouled, in my opinion, 4 times. And that's about 8 potential points left on the table. It's something about these NCAA refs that I think, I don't know what happens when it comes to tournament time or if it's this bad the entire year, but it was bad. I mean, he was getting hit on the elbow a couple times when he was rising up to shoot. So I was pretty disappointed in the refs because I think BYU could have won that game against Houston. And the fact that they are, I mean, Houston could go all the way, and we'll talk about the bracket. Houston could go all the way, and BYU almost upset them. So, and that's because of AJ. So, major props to Dybantsa. I can't say enough good things about him, his character. He's all about the team. About, he had the 40-point game. It's just all about the team. And he's just looking like he's having a lot of fun out there. And I love that. It just, when you see players who are playing with joy, it just gives you joy to watch those guys. So, yeah, I'm really enjoying him. And again, if you want to put him number one, I have no issues with that. To me, it's AJ and Darren in one tier and Boozer in a second tier. So that's my opinion right now. That can change, but I like where I'm at with that. I like seeing AJ operate as a pick and roll ball handler. He seems a little bit like not as smooth on some of his moves. And I think that's going to change. Like if he makes a Euro step, it looks a little bit clunky, but at the same time, it's getting the job done. So it's just going to be really, he's going to smooth all that out, over the next few years. And when he does, it's just going to look so beautiful. I'm just so excited to see how he turns out as a player. It's just the amount of talent that is going into the NBA with these high character, highly talented players is unreal. the NBA and USA basketball is in really good hands. So, yeah, I'm more than excited to see these guys play and improve. Um, I think let's go to the tournament, to the bracket, because the bracket just got released, and I'm still digesting it. But let me pull it up here. Okay, so on the east side of the bracket, it's Duke as a 1 seed, UConn 2, Michigan State 3. Louisville is 6. So if Mikael Brown has back spasms and if he doesn't play, then I could see Louisville getting upsetted by the 11th seed South Florida. So, but it looks like Duke has a really good side of the bracket. So I would be, I'm don't listen to my advice when making your bracket selections. But I think Duke looks like they have a good chance of making it to the Final Four, as does Arizona and Braylon Burries. I mean, he had 10 points in their championship game, and he that 10 points that he had straight in the first half is the reason they won the game. Is one of the main reasons that they won the game. You know, Cole Pete did really well, had over 20 points. But yeah, Arizona looks really, really good too. And yeah, they look really, really good. Um, yeah, so they are a number 1 seed, and they can potentially play Arkansas. So that would be a really good matchup to see Darius Acuff versus Arizona. BYU is on the same bracket, so AJ potentially could play against Acuff or against Burries and Arizona. So I would be looking forward to that. Um, I forgot to mention Kansas is a 4 seed, so Peterson and Duke could meet. So Peterson versus Boozer could be a potential matchup in the third round. Yeah, in the Sweet 16. So that could be interesting. Michigan in the Midwest is a number 1 seed, and um, Nate Ament and Tennessee is a 6 seed, so they wouldn't be able to meet until the Elite Eight, and I don't really feel good about Tennessee, but I think Virginia is better than them, so I would expect Virginia to move on there on that side of the bracket. And on the south side of the bracket, Florida is the number 1 seed, and Houston is a number 2 seed, and Illinois 3. And I really like Houston. I know they didn't win the whole Big 12 tournament, but yeah, I think Fleming's and that defense is really good. Just like always, their defense is really good. So it should be a fun tournament. We will watch, these games, and then we'll, come back next week to kind of recap some of the 4 days go. Starting on Thursday. Well, really, it starts earlier than that, but that's the main day: Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I will try to make another episode on Sunday. If not Sunday, then Monday. And I appreciate everyone watching. I hope you guys, if you guys have any comments and suggestions on how to improve, that'd be great. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next week. Peace.